you're always jostling for position. But if a woman feels as though she's got more power than you, she's going to look down on you. She's not going to respect you. And if that power gap becomes more distant, there's less attraction, there's less respect, and she's less likely to stay in love with you and want to be with you. Now, it's counterintuitive because the natural thing to feel is when a woman pulls back, oh, well, I haven't cared enough, I haven't shown her enough attention, I haven't shown her a different side of myself, which is giving her all my love and attention, right? So a lot of guys go into chase mode where they try to plead and beg, trying to convince the woman to come back to them, and it never works. And the reason why it never works is because when she pulls back, she's already lost respect for you. She's already lost interest in you. She's already started to sense that you might be relationship focused, you might be needy. So then you only tell her one thing when you chase her. That is, she was right. You are relationship focused. You are needy. You do have lower value in the relationship. Now, if you want to know more about building and maintaining attraction with women, I highly recommend you get a copy of my book, Atomic Attraction. You can pick up your copy today by clicking on the link below. And don't forget, I do Skype, phone, and email consultations. You can book a consultation with me at my website, developattraction.com.
So in this video, I want to talk about why it's never worth chasing a woman. It's just not worth it. I had a long conversation with a friend today who was telling me about his dating and love life, and he explained that he'd always been chasing women. And the women that he found really attractive, he would always end up chasing them. And that's not a good place to be, because as he said to me, the one thing he found is that when he actually got them into a situation where they started to warm up to him when he pulled away, he started to realize pretty fast that it just wasn't worth chasing them. No woman is worth chasing. Doesn't matter what she looks like, doesn't matter what she appears to be like. Even if you have this wonderful fantasy about what she's like, you're never gonna build real attraction and get her interest to be really high if you're chasing her. It just doesn't happen. I've never seen, and I've done a lot of consultations and I've interacted with thousands of relationship situations. I've never seen a man build attraction by chasing a woman over a long period of time. You can spark attraction by chasing a woman when you first meet her. Before you get intimate with her, you can spark attraction. But the moment you start to get intimate with a woman, you have to turn the tables and you have to make her chase you, because if you don't allow that natural dynamic to take place where she suddenly starts to chase you and you back away and allow her to become the chaser in the relationship, she loses attraction for you, she pulls away, you're no longer a mystery, and she starts to look elsewhere. So if you think that any woman is different and that you've been cold and unaffectionate and you think you've made that mistake, I guarantee you haven't. That's not the problem. I get a lot of emails from guys telling me that they weren't sweet enough to their girlfriend, they weren't caring enough with women, and that they didn't show enough love and affection to a girl, and I guarantee you that is not true. Because if you were seriously a cold fish and you didn't give a shit about your girlfriend, you wouldn't be emailing me about the situation. You wouldn't even know. You'd be blind to it. So I guarantee that's not the problem. The problem is that you probably acted in a way which
Hello.
Who's talking about? How are you? It's just kind of short, The relationship more. You probably felt like you could have been even more affectionate even though you were already at 100%. So don't make the false assumption that you weren't kind enough, you weren't sweet enough, because that's never the case. There is no woman in this world who is worth chasing, and the one important thing to remember is this: it doesn't matter who the woman is. If you chase a woman, you start to lose not only the woman, you start to lose your own self-respect, you lose dignity, you lose pride, and the one thing that you're stuck with is feeling goddamn awful because you think, man, I shouldn't have chased that woman, I feel like a fool, I lost my self-respect in the process. And that is much more important, to hold your self-respect and your dignity intact, keep it intact, as opposed to chasing a woman. And I see a lot of guys sacrifice their pride and dignity just to try to win a girl over. It's never going to win a girl over if you sacrifice your pride and dignity. Women will respect you, and you won't respect yourself. So don't chase women, no woman is worth it. And if you need help in a specific relationship problem, don't forget I do Skype and email consultations. And if you just want to get in touch, send me an email. I love talking to you guys. Talk soon. Why are men so afraid? Men are afraid because they believe they have limited options in life, which in turn makes them feel powerless and helpless. The man who's afraid to lose his job believes he has limited economic opportunities, even in a world of financial abundance. The man who's scared his wife or girlfriend will leave him has a misguided belief that he'll never find a woman better than his current partner. Women can smell weakness like a shark smells blood. See yourself as weak, helpless, and powerless. Women can't help but see you the same way. In my discussions with men who successfully made the transition from beta to alpha, I've noticed that these men all share one thing in common. They embrace masculinity. Some men are born into a state of alpha. For the majority of men, however, becoming alpha requires work that's both highly rewarding and satisfying. Making the transition from beta to alpha always begins with the body. Strengthen your body and you strengthen your mind. The moment you start to feel powerful in your body is the moment you start to think with strength and certainty. When you feel vulnerable, you become vulnerable. When you see yourself as attractive, you become attractive. Your thoughts are manifested into reality, and you choose the path that ultimately determines your reality. In a world of beta males, the alpha male is king. You must never be afraid to go after what you want, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. Another unexpected and enlightening aspect of the research into attraction is that selfishness often makes men appear more attractive. Being strategically selfish and assertive lets women know that you're more likely to acquire resources and thus more likely to be successful. Your success is, after all, not only your success, but your partner and your offspring's success as well. Okay, so in this video I want to talk about the 3 most important things that a man must focus on, not only to make himself the most attractive version of himself and to get women to chase him and to become more attractive, but also to improve your life and to make your life better. And you'll find that as a man, if you put your focus onto a woman, you're never going to be really happy. You're not going to be satisfied. As a man, you need 3 things. You need ambition, you need mission, and you need...
It's time to buckle up for a spine-tingling exploration of history's darkest secrets. Discover the sinister methods the Nazis used to execute their genocidal agenda, leaving millions of lives shattered. The Nazi decision to employ gas chambers in executing one of the most heinous genocidal campaigns in human history was driven by a combination of factors, all rooted in their extreme ideology. By 1939, Adolf Hitler's totalitarian rule over Germany was absolute, and the Nazi Party wielded unchecked power. Fueled by virulent anti-Semitism, Hitler had successfully convinced many Germans that the Jewish population was responsible for societal ills. However, Hitler's hatred extended beyond Jews to include Roma, homosexuals, and those with disabilities, whom he deemed unfit for German society. The Nazis sought efficient means to capture and exterminate these targeted groups, leading to the inception of the so-called euthanasia program in 1939. Despite its misleading name, this program was a mass murder campaign primarily targeting institutionalized patients, far removed from any notion of euthanasia as commonly understood. Euthanasia typically involves the painless ending of a terminally ill patient's life or one in an irreversible coma with consent or medical assessment. However, the Nazis perverted this concept using it as a guise for large-scale murder. They viewed disabled individuals as financial and genetic burdens on the state and society, justifying their extermination. The Nazis used tricky words and soft phrases to hide their terrible deeds. They started their plan to wipe out certain groups of people by killing children one by one, showing how evil they were. In the spring of 1939, Hitler's private chancellery director Philip Bohler and his attending physician Karl Brandt devised the initial blueprint for what would later be known as the euthanasia program. On August 18, 1939, the Reich Ministry of the Interior mandated that all medical practitioners report infants under 3 exhibiting physical or mental disabilities to the state. Shortly after, parents were encouraged to admit their disabled children to consulting special pediatric clinics in Germany and Austria. However, the reality was far grimmer than what parents were led to believe. These clinics were in truth centers for mass murder, where staff employed specifically for this purpose would execute children under their care through starvation or lethal doses. As time progressed, older children were also admitted to these facilities. At least 10,000 disabled German children fell victim to the euthanasia program, although the actual number may never be fully known. The process of killing disabled children, reprehensible as it was, proved to be time and resource intensive, prompting the orchestrators of this atrocity to extend their cruelty to adult patients. This expansion led to the inception of the T4 campaign, which marked a significant escalation in the scale of targeted killings. In a disturbing turn, the Nazis introduced gas chambers for mass murder under the guise of this campaign. 6 gassing centers were established across Germany, including Bernberg, Brandenburg, Grafenegg, Hadamar, Harthien, and Sonnenstein. Despite their sinister purpose, these facilities were not called gassing centers in official communications. The victims were transported to these centers based on responses to questionnaires distributed to hospitals, with particular emphasis on their ability to work. Those deemed unfit for full participation in the labor force were earmarked for transportation and subsequent extermination. Initially, pure carbon monoxide was used in the killing chambers. To deceive the victims, the chambers were disguised as showers. After the murders, the bodies were incinerated in adjacent crematoria, and the ashes were randomly placed in urns for distribution to their families. The Nazis, in an attempt to conceal the truth, falsified death certificates, citing fictional or natural causes. Despite efforts to veil their actions, knowledge of the gas chambers spread among the German populace, sparking protests and condemnation from some members of the clergy. Under mounting pressure, Hitler temporarily halted the euthanasia program in August 1941. However, by then, tens of thousands of institutionalized patients had already perished. For the Nazis, the program was a chilling success, laying the groundwork for the utilization of gas chambers at a much larger scale during the Holocaust and World War II. Moreover, the use of gas vans by the Einsatzgruppen during the invasion of the Soviet Union further demonstrated the Nazis' willingness to employ any means necessary to achieve their genocidal objectives. Following the sealing of the chamber entrance, men, women and children were trapped inside as a masked soldier opened a vent on the roof to release Zyklon B pellets into the chamber. Once the pellets were dispensed, the vent was closed, completely sealing off the gas chamber. With no means of escape and the toxic gas filling the air, victims, already tightly packed inside, would suffocate and die within a matter of minutes. Once the soldiers outside believed they were all deceased, the chamber was ventilated for approximately 15 minutes to clear out the toxic air. During the peak deportations to Auschwitz in 1943 and 44, the gas chambers, including Zyklon B, claimed the lives of an average of 6,000 Jewish individuals and others each day. Some of the Jewish deportees were designated as members of the Sonderkommando, sparing them immediate death but subjecting them to another form of torment. These Sonderkommando members were tasked with the gruesome duty of entering the gas chamber